Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Gay with God podcast, a safe place for us to share our stories and support one another. How long did we know? What challenges did we face? Did we lose our faith? When did we find our way back home? Or are we still searching? The stories you hear on this podcast will melt your heart and strengthen your belief that in God, all things are possible, and you can be authentically gay with the God of your understanding. I am your host, Midge Noble, and I am very honored that you are here. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Gay with God podcast. Thank you so much for being a part of this episode by listening whenever you can get to it, and I am so grateful for your support. So today we're talking about Christmas with the family. So we just went through Thanksgiving, and good for you guys. If you're listening to me, you survived that. And some of you don't have a problem going home for the holidays, for any kind of event, and it's an open and affirming place for you. And I'm happy for you. And I'm happy for myself that I've been able to get to the point where, we are celebrating as a family. It may not be everybody at one time. Sometimes it's a little bit here and a little bit there, but it is still a connection. But that connection to family comes with baggage. How many of you remember going home and you become 12 again? That no matter how old you are, how accomplished you are, you go back into the family fold and the family rules and positions reinvent themselves again, and you may not be taken seriously. You may be challenged. You may be parented, even though you're an established adult in your own home. I had an experience this past weekend where I went in to do some early Christmas baking with my family, just my sister and my mom, because my mom for 40 or more years has made this traditional Christmas dessert that you only get on Christmas, and it's usually like only one thing. It's a date pudding, and most of the time you only get one, and every once in a while we might have gotten two, but you only get this one pudding, and it has a hard sauce on it. Now, I've learned recently that hard sauce traditionally does have liquor in it, but apparently my Grandma Phillips, who created this, or probably didn't create it, but it was her recipe from her kitchen that I don't know where she got it from, but there is no liquor in our hard sauce. There is vanilla that has liquor in it, but everybody goes, oh, but that burns off. But the thing is that the vanilla in the hard sauce does not go into an oven. It never gets heated. So any liquor in the vanilla is still liquor, just so y'all know. And if you put real liquor in there, it of course is still going to be in there. And don't think I'm not going to try it at some point. A little bit of bourbon, a little bit of rum. I could see how this could get really interesting. However, our hard sauce just had the butter and the vanilla and the confectionate sugar, and that's how our hard sauce is. So you get this date pudding, and it gets steamed, and then right before you eat it, you heat it up a little bit more, and then put the hard sauce on, which then just drizzles all down and is just delicious. I made the vegan option one year because I couldn't eat it when I would go in after choosing to be vegan, and there's eggs in it, there's egg whites in the hard sauce, and so I didn't eat it one year, and I was the outcast who did not partake in the date pudding and hard sauce. And then the next year I made it vegan, and I just made some for myself and then brought in my vegan option. This year my mom is 91, and she hasn't made the date pudding and hard sauce for a long, long time. Because she's been at my sister's for almost 3 years, and she just doesn't do those things anymore. And I don't remember the last time we actually had it at her home before she moved to my sister's, because it was getting harder for her to make it. And so I thought, being the person that I am, What a great idea this would be if I went into my sister's home where my mom is, and we would make the date pudding and hard sauce so she wouldn't have to do it all by herself, but she could help us, and to however much she could help us, and we would be able to then still have this wonderful traditional treat on Christmas Day. Well, then we find out that my brother can't be there on Christmas Day, but he can come tomorrow, which is going to be the 23rd. So I went in this weekend to do this big surprise for my mom. She didn't know it was going to happen. But before I came in, I said to my sister, my recipe doesn't say how many date puddings this will yield. And I said, can you somehow secretly figure out with Mama how many that used to make? And so she apparently went to investigate and just make it oh, I was thinking about the day pudding and hard sauce. And do you remember how many we actually could make from that recipe? Something like that. And so she came back to me and said she doesn't remember making the date pudding. Couldn't even remember doing it. All those years she's done it consistently, and now all of a sudden she doesn't even remember doing it. And she even said, I don't think I've even eaten that. What is that? Well, my heart dropped. So now I know that going in to be with my family has progressed to more dementia in my mom, and she's different than when I saw her at Thanksgiving. So I said, so what do you think about me coming in and let's doing this anyway, even though she can't remember, and we'll just see how it goes. And she said, I think it'll be a disaster. And I said, but could it also be just a gift to have us all doing something together, and how much fun that can be, that, we may mess whole thing up. And she goes, yeah, well, I can see that, but it's still going to be a disaster. So in I go on that Saturday to surprise my mom. And she was very surprised, and she teared up and she started to cry. And then I said, we're going to make the date pudding and hard sauce that you used to make for many, many years. And it was our traditional Christmas dessert. And she goes, I don't know what that is. And I said, yeah, but we're going to make it, and we're going to really, really have fun. Well, we started around 10 o'clock that morning, and we made date pudding and the hard sauce. We doubled the batch. Apparently the first one did yield like 24 cups, but if everybody wanted two, we thought we'd splurge, and instead of just one sacred little cup, let's go wild, and we could each have two. And so we doubled the recipe. We'll have enough for my brother and his family on tomorrow, and then we'll have some left over for us to eat it again on Sunday. So some of us, woohoo, might double dip a little bit. Now, as a vegan, I am very conscious of not eating animals or what animals make. However, I am not stupid. And I understand that there are times that for me that I may choose to eat something, either to not embarrass somebody that I'm around, like they might have, offered me something and I don't want to be, so rigid that I wouldn't do it, take a bite of something they've offered. Now, if it's meat, I won't eat it. I just can't. And then, but if it's other things like the butter, we actually found vegan butter that my sister didn't know she bought, so there is vegan butter in the date pudding and the hard sauce. However, I'm not going to be all Rambo about this, and I will partake with the traditional date pudding and hard sauce this weekend, or this holiday season, because I don't want anything to get in the way of my mom having the best experience ever. And so we made those date puddings all day. It was not until like late in the afternoon that we finished this project, because there's only 6 cups, steam cups, that you can use, and then you have to just keep doing that over and over. It takes like 20 minutes to steam the first batch, and then you got to refill it and steam the next batch. Now, why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you all this because compromise during Christmas and other holidays is essential to your well-being. There may be things that I will not compromise. There may be things that I can't compromise, and I just won't make a big deal about that. Like she's serving turkey and for the Christmas dinner, and she's going to have a salad. Well, I know I can eat a salad. I'm not going to make a big deal that she doesn't have any vegan options for me for protein. I will bring in my tempeh to go on my salad, and I will be fine with that. And as far as the date pudding goes, when it's date pudding time, I'm going to be right there getting my steamed cup with that hard sauce going all over the place. So and even compromise is essential. And even if I chose not to partake in the date pudding, that's not going to be a big deal, but it's a choice I'm making this year because for my own mental health, I want to do it. I want to remember that one more time before my mom's not here. The other compromises we will probably make during this Christmas and holiday season is what to say and what not to say. Already on the group chat this morning with my siblings, there was a comment thrown out there. We were talking about something really just benign about when do you put up your Christmas tree and when do you take it down, and it was just one of those things, and that it was late this year and everybody's running late, and we had to educate my sister on how the date changes for Thanksgiving. It's always the fourth Thursday, but it's always a different date, and that's why it was later. Because I mentioned to her the other day, I said Thanksgiving came late this year, and she goes, no, it didn't. It comes at the same time every year. It's always Thursday before December. And I said, yeah, but it changed, and she she just didn't understand it. But and I showed her how that always changed. The date of that Thursday, the fourth Thursday, always changes. But my wife had to help me with that because I'm not a numbers person. And so I said, I know it was quicker, but why was it quicker? And so she educated me, and now I'm so much smarter than I was this morning. But I shared my wisdom with my siblings, and then I did give her credit. So because it was rushed this year, we didn't get our tree up until later. I haven't gotten out one single Christmas card, and that may just be something that's too overwhelming for me to do. I might do a New Year's hello to people. I just have not been able to get myself together this year. So she was, all, anal about that it's a tradition and people need to stay connected, and some people don't do cards and stuff, and the Thursdays, all that conversation, silly stuff, just silly stuff. And then she makes the comment, well, that's what makes this country great, that we all have different opinions and that we can love each other and get along even when people disagree about important things. Now tell me that was not directed at the girl that's her sister that did not and will never vote for the current regime and has huge problems with the regime attacking immigrants and gay people and Native Americans and all brown people and black people, and I just took a beat and I said nothing to her. Now, my brother, I think, is sort of on the same regime track that she is, but he has a whole bigger vision of things at this point. And so I said to him in a private message, don't tell me that wasn't directed at me, and da-da-da-da-da. And he said she does seem to have hidden messages in her texts sometime. So I already know that fire built up in me. And it's up to me to not take that fire into the holiday gathering tomorrow or Christmas. And the reason it's up to me is that I know who she is. I know how she thinks. I know where I'm going. I'm not allowed to even say the word Trump in her house because she knows whatever I say about Trump is going to be negative, and her husband voted for Trump. And that would create a big honkin' drama. Now, if somebody else brings it up in a way that cannot support my beliefs, I will have a conversation that is going to be as polite as possible, but not back down on my beliefs. I will not bring it up. Not because I'm, not trying to be a part of the team. I'm not going to bring it up because I want my mother to have the best Christmas ever. And a big family brouhaha is going to destroy her Christmas. And this has happened before. I mean, things have happened before at our family get-togethers where there was a line that was crossed and I did not back down. And I'm a fiery Aries, as y'all know, and I don't back down. I'm choosing not to engage or start anything. I'm going to go and celebrate Christmas with my mother and make sure she has the best time ever. So, when we have Christmas with family, we have to compromise and sometimes squash some of our normal effervescent selves because we can't fix it. We can't fix it. Now, I know many of you have been banned from your holidays with your family. I know many of you have been made to stay quiet and not tell who you are. And it's agonizing. I have been there. I have done that. I will no longer go to a family gathering where I am not allowed to be my open, authentic self. And if I hold my wife's hand at some point or I give her a hug in front of them, if they can't handle it, then they need to tell me not to come because I will show up and be who I am. But as far as like political crap and as other things, I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to hopefully say the word fuck. It is my roller coaster brain expression word. And what I mean by that is like when I scream on a roller coaster, it helps my head not explode with all the pressure that I'm under being on a roller coaster. I love them, but oh my gosh, I have to scream just to release the pressure of the fear of some of them. So that's my go-to word. If I'm really, really mad and I'm just about to explode, that's the word I use to like release the steam out of the bean pot or whatever you want to call it. It it cleanses that a little bit. Could I have chosen a different word? Probably, but it is my word and I just use it. So, um my family hates it, by the way. So does my wife, really. But this past weekend, I was doing something with the date putting, and I made a mistake, and I said, "Shit!" And my mother said, "We will not have that in this house." And I said, "Well, that's interesting." I said, "I remember you growing up, and you used to say hell's bells." And she goes, "Well, that's different." And she said, "But we don't need that in here." And I said, "Well, we may not need it, but you're probably going to hear it again if I mess up again." Just saying. So we just made it a joke, and it was fine. So I try not to swear in front of my mother, but there are times that it just organically comes out, and that just happens. So of the things I can control, apparently I can't control my mouth all the time, but of the things I can control, I want to make sure that I'm always taking a beat if something triggers me and I don't want to overreact to a comment or engage in something political that's going to start a big row when I really just want it to be a good memory for all of us. For those of you who cannot go home for these holidays and you have chosen family that you'll be spending it with, remember that there's still going to be grief about that. You're going to have anger, but you're going to feel that sadness of being separated from the people, even the people that tear you down or have blackballed you, separated you from the family. There's still going to be that residual sadness that you can't be with family. We are rooted in family. It's who we were supposed to be as a pack of people. If we didn't need each other, I don't think this world would have been created with family connections. Adam needed Eve. And don't worry about the names because they were just two humans, kind of getting together. But the thing is that it wasn't enough. The animals were not enough for God. God needed human companion, and so God created human companion. And then family units were developed. So family is important. It is all the way back to the creation of life. Family compositions are important. And when you're missing that family composition this year, honor that. Find a way to express that through art or writing, journaling, crying. Honor that. I've cried more this year than I have ever because of the losses we've gone through in the last few years, those who aren't with us anymore. We have a dear neighbor right now that lived next to us in another house when my beloved first came to Ashboro. She lived in this house, and right next door, if you looked out our kitchen window, you could see their house. And I mean, it was right there, like a driveway about separated us. And they were lovely people, still are lovely people. And now her whole entire family, her husband, her daughter, her son, have all died. Her one other daughter is still in town and supports her and helps her. But now the mom's in the hospital in the ICU, and she's, older, and we have cried the last 2 days because we always go see her on Christmas Eve. Every year since we've left that house, we've seen her on Christmas Eve to take her treats and to visit with her. And this year she's in ICU, and we're not going to be able to do it. And she's not our blood family, but she's our chosen family and another mother. And now this one is now in trouble. And so it is just the way it is to have those connections, even when they hurt us. When our families hurt us, we block that pain with anger and rage, and sometimes we do and say things that we wouldn't really want ourselves to do to get back at that pain. And on this holiday season, if you do have that pain, definitely talk it through with your besties, talk it through with people that you love, and just know that it's not you. You are not the problem. As much as your family may point to you and say, you've ruined this family, or you can't come because of what you are, don't buy into that. That is absolutely not true. The problem is your family has not moved through their own grief and their own mental wellness in order to accept the person that you are created to be. So they always pointed at us, but they have a responsibility on their side. They always want us to accommodate them. They also have to learn how to accommodate our authenticity. And if they don't, you find your chosen family and you celebrate the heck out of this holiday season in the way that feels right to you. I love you guys. I appreciate you coming and listening to my Midge's mumblings from time to time. Remember that if you have a story to tell, if you have your coming out faith journey story and you would like the world to know about it, and perhaps you also have something that you would like to offer to the group, like a book you've written or something that you're working toward, or I help you promote whatever you want to promote within reason. And so I would love to hear and honor your story, and I would love to help you get the word out about workshops or books or whatever positive things you're putting out into the world. If I can be a light to shine that on what you're doing and creating, I would love to hear and honor your story and support you by putting that out into the world. Thank you again, everybody, for choosing to be a part of the Gay with God podcast today. And if you would like to have links to connect with me, you can go and find me at empoweredmidge.podbean.com. Check out our Facebook group, Gay with God, where we do a monthly Zoom group entitled My Faith Journey. We're actually having it this evening at 6:30. But first, go to Gay with God, join the Facebook page, answer all the questions in order to be invited inside, and you'll see the Zoom link for My Faith Journey, where we help each other through their coming out faith journey and just talk about life in general. Tonight, we're going to be talking about chapter 3, a book in the Richard Rohr book, The Tears of Things, but we often get off track and we talk about life, and so it may turn out to be a Christmas thing. Who knows? But we're going to definitely get together this evening, and we'd like to have you join us whenever you're ready. I want to also remind you that if you would like my memoir, Gay with God, Reclaiming My Faith, Honoring My Story, you can go to empoweredmidge.podbean.com, and you can get a link to buy the book there. It's also in online bookstores anywhere that you get your books. If you get it from my website, which is gaywithgod.com, you can order one directly from me and I can sign it for you if that's something you would like to have. If you are listening to this podcast and are questioning whether you can be gay and be in a relationship with the God of your understanding, if you identify as LGBTQIA+, are not even sure if you are gay, God has always been within you. Even when you didn't know it, you have always been gay with God. Thank you, everybody. Stay tuned to see how you can join the Gay with God community. And as always, you are loved. I want to invite you to become a part of the Gay with God community. How can you do that? Stay connected by messaging me your thoughts and comments in the comment section under the downloads of the show on the Gay with God show page. Subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen and share so we can increase our community outreach and be a light to those who are struggling to claim their faith. Consider being a sponsor so I can highlight your service in our community. We are all worthy of respect and a relationship with the God of our understanding. I want to thank you in advance for supporting this podcast. Together, we as a community will keep this show visible and our community stronger. Deep gratitude to my friend Tim McClendon of Tim McClendon Music for allowing me to use an excerpt from Interlude 4, a song found on his CD entitled Sundance.